Hello, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, can I start?
Yeah. Why not?
Very, very good evening, everybody, all participants, panelists, and whoever I'm reaching, my voice and my picture. And thankful to, I'm really at the outset to Dr. Stogi and Dr. Tej Bahadur who approached me and requested me to speak. Basically, I'm a man of sociology as an industrial sociology, but I just will move into more into industry and organization. So that is the, of course, we have to understand the sociology of organization. So I'm trying my whatever I'm going to speak more in terms of understanding from organizational perspective. Of course, what we have gone through has been huge. I mean, the kind of challenges. I was just reading somewhere, last epidemic we had happened is the Ebola one. We passed through 2 years, 2014, 2016, but its severity was very, very less in comparison to the number of countries suffered, and everywhere you can see everybody's down and they put into house arrest. Every activity is like, come to a standstill. This has never has happened in the human history. Uh, yeah, so that's the case. I mean, and the last one, other than this pandemic, other thing where the losses, if you try to look at what we are going to talk, and when we talk as an organization, and I know earlier lecture in the morning, I heard of Dr. Anand, and I was really pleased to listen to him when he was talking about uh, value vis-a-vis like the profit, and that's the market now saying, all right. So like profit maximization and the market-based economy, all this globalization where we have moved. So this is a part of that. There is a globalization movement of people, money, intellectual capital, all having no border, right, and technology facilitating it, and all these institutions, WTO, IMF, World playing into that. We have seen, but this the epidemic came through because of the people traveled in the aeroplane, am I right? So this is the part of how we have reached to this place, am I right? And it has gone to every corner of the world, most of the places, am I right? 188 country or something, very few countries, a few part has been left in any country. Where it has not reached, it is picking up. Like in US, some other state, I called one of my friend, and he lives in South Dakota. And I was asking, he said, yeah, last month. He said, it is normal, nothing happening. I say, oh, what is going on? And now it is going on. So of course, like regional with disparity, even like, it has not touched and it is reaching out. People talk about herd immunity, it will reach out. I just, without going more into COVID or this corona and its spread, everybody, we are reading a lot on TV, and magazines are full of that. But like what I was saying about last challenges for the human, civilization, we have heard about tsunami had come, like, 2004, and it has damaged many countries and all. And if you look at the tune of its impact was 9.5 billion US dollar, right? Huge impact it has made on losses and how the many organization, people lives and all this. But this is surpassing, this epidemic is all so far, because it has made everything a standstill. I just want to share my, can I share my, yeah. So, is it okay? All right. So I was just talking about, in terms of challenges, and my topic will focus more on today on people aspect, like I have spoken to Dr. Bahadur also, that in the beginning. So, but of course, I will, that's why the challenges when I was talking about managing people and engaging people, because in the present scenario, how to deploy them in useful, like, the gainful employment, that is a big challenge now. And the kind of challenge it is throwing to the people. In that case, what are the important issues, especially from the man management and engagement? So that issue I will touch upon. And the most important issue is coming out is more about ethical, like, this this position. So how people are going to deal with it? If you look at, some of the issue, if you look at how this COVID has done damage, right, it is huge, right? We can't think of, in terms of, just in the previous lecture, we just heard about the whole story and also without going into that. If you look at, it became this, the history. Some of them I was just reading somewhere. Some of the Chinese second spirit coming on wave in city like Beijing, and we have heard the story uh, that it was coming from the Europe. So China is claiming no, it was existing in November or before because they collect those seepage, and from there they calculate where the disease exists. So we don't know, it was existing November or December, but anyway, it came to as emergency on January 30th, and it became pandemic in 11th March. I remember I stopped visiting my college and university from 12th March. I was having an exam on 12th March, and I was not able to conduct my midterm. And since then, I'm just online like this. So using Blackboard or Zoom for my teaching. And also this is almost 3.5 months it has, and it has really brought huge impact. It has stopped, the world has stopped, like I'm just talking about old data given by ILO. You say 81% of world workforce by the full or partial closure of the workplace. So by April 2020 itself, the world is stopped, and all non-essential services and production was seized, right? Even there they're working, the working are reduced to, and that resulted into huge losses worldwide. We talk about some, I was talking about 9.5 billion. It is nothing. If you talk about that was a huge loss, and the tsunami one. So it is around, people are expecting from 860 billion to 3.4 trillion estimate. This is the ILO estimate. I'm bringing from something. But ILO is saying, this is going to be there. It depends on how long it will continue. That is also an estimate. So we don't know. Still, we are hoping for the best, and we all think life will be better. But still, there are many stories. Some people are saying it is going to be part of your life. It is going to stay for 6 months, a year, or some people worst. I'm seeing people those who are really expert. They are saying 2 years or at least most. Am I right? Some people are saying it will remain like epidemic seasonally, will visit you, so it will remain there for 10 years or so. So there are many stories and many interpretation and all, many school of thoughts, many school of ideas, and you can't validate, you can't negate. So this is just addition of knowledge. So this happened, look at especially what has happened in terms of social impact, because we are the conference is more talking about in terms of social impact, social change, and life of people, if you look at. So if you look at the life of people, here, 500 million are likely to be pushed back into poverty. This is the Oxfam data. This is the very recent, estimation. They are saying 500 million are likely to be pushed back into poverty because of the COVID. It is already happening. We see, either in India or elsewhere. It is not, of course, India is huge, because a huge number of people moving out, and sometimes they have to survive, and then the government coming up and all these steps happening. So we have got those information otherwise which exist. But if you look at the worldwide, it is everywhere. The government has come, of course, seeing the size of the country. So they are putting, like here also the government came, and the private sector, they said, we'll pay 60% of your salary. So huge, relief for private sector employees that happened to some extent, or to a great extent, I can say. So even many of my neighbors, they are not having 100% salary now, and they are working because they don't have a choice. They made changes in terms of their law, because we don't have so much clumsy labor laws here. We have so the government interpretation was, you can fire people, they give flexibility, you can retrench people for some time, and you can cut down the salary for certain time if you are not gainfully employing him, or let him enjoy his annual holiday during that time. So this was some, rather than throwing him from the job. So that step our government has taken, and to some extent life are coming back to the normal. But it's, despite that, a lot of people, especially expatriate workforce, lost the job. You understand? We all know, if you look from Indian perspective, most of the Gulf country, GCC country, and especially UAE is the first one who employs a lot of Indians, around 31 million or something, and then we come. I mean, and then US come later, right? So if you look at huge, I mean, number of employees here who are coming from India and all, and they are losing jobs, it is going to have impact. So even otherwise also, if major chunk, most of the people, like, larger chunk in expatriate workforce, because expatriate workforce are the mostly employed in the private sectors, around 80 to 90%, 85%, and they are mostly, I told you, a major chunk is from India. If you, I was just somewhere, I was just going through data, and I will just say how many Indians here. Yeah, 41 lakh. So this is around Pakistani 50 lakh, Egyptian 29, Syrian 25, Bangladesh 10 lakh. There's some old data and all, but I'm just trying to see the composition of workforce and its impact. So we have huge, I mean, from Indian perspective also, if they lose job, so that will be the remittance will go down. So that is happening, I mean, right? So a lot of non-essential services and all just going to halt. And then we have seen, like, a lot of people, especially I'm going to more speak on organized sector, but unorganized sector also, like, have seen, if you, that's why the ILO is saying 1.6 billion people who are employed in, this is the UNDP data, sorry, not ILO. This is the very recent data I just get a few days back. So 1.6 billion people worldwide who are working in informal sector. Like in India, we have this migrant worker, right? So those informal sector are at the danger of losing jobs. So they are having already lost job, most of them, or they are at the danger of losing job worldwide. If we talk about those things, I mean, like we just talked about, ILO has been come about some policy framework and helping, like, providing some what we can do. We have seen many government coming up, like in India also, like, the government providing fund and food and all these, I mean, helping those companies as well in terms of supporting them. So this was the, if you look at all these things lead to the huge, I mean, breakdown of everything, right? So the production process get to, I mean, halt. The trade and all this global supply chain come to have, like, we have heard many stories happening, like Hyundai was production in Korea stopped because of supply chains, those parts were coming from the China, they stopped, so the whole factory was stopped. Worldwide it has happened and happening right now. Because of the over dependence, we are in a globalized world, so a lot of things we are consuming which are coming through supply chain, which is the global world we are having. And even then, this is not supply chain, we have the stock. We are living in the world which we call zero inventory, just-in-time system. Just-in-time system means you don't want to put a storeroom and to have inventory. So most of these companies we are having, like, zero inventory, all these top companies. And also, where is the order? Then you have the parts, and then it you have the reliability of your supply chain, who are your stake partners, and then you produce things. And also that has, I mean, over dependence, and that's why they're being questioned now. That's why this is the huge, because those supply chain, you have to, a lot of companies, rather you have to go on vertical, you can say integration, because most of the company we are not going into vertical, rather than outsourcing and doing stuff and all. That has happened worldwide. That's why what is happening in India, we are right now, we are having the problem. Most of the technology sector and also we have stopped manufacturing because we start getting many things cheaper from the China. Same has happened in most of the developed countries and all, because you outsource, am I right? I was just reading somewhere, and I was just finding into the whole US, even the screen, this TFT screen is not being manufactured. They have the technology, Apple and all, but they have to have, like, or the Thomson TV or whatever, I mean, so, or Sony, they have to go to the China to get that TFT plate, right, which they put at the screen. So that's the kind of dependence and all that the globalization or outsourcing has made, and now it has gone in one go, right? So even the state are closing their boundary to a state, and sometimes it is district closing a state to the state. Yesterday I was talking to my son, and he lives in Brisbane, that is a Queensland state, and because of this, last happened, Victoria, which is Melbourne, and they had some protest, Black Lives Matter. This is also one of the social legal issue. Even during COVID, there was the Black Lives Matter protest going. There's a different dimension to a study for a sociologist, right? The sociology of revolution, right? Or this kind of protest. Even despite all these kind of natural calamities and epidemics, even the people come on, and that has huge impact or bad impact, and many got into fraud, like, like we just talking about what we have made, right? So a lot of people got that spread, that thing. So they closed the boundary of Queensland, and also the travel is stopped. And they say it is hotspot. You can't enter a few days back, and slowly they are easing out. Coming back to the issue, so what exactly I'm trying to emphasize here, that it made the world, I mean, which never we can think of. You understand, like, and it has huge impact everywhere in a different kind of course, contextuality. It differs from city to villages. I come from a small village, and I just found, I mean, sometime I visit, though I mostly Delhi based or some other place I have to visit sometime, but my older parents' house, so I just called my distant, I mean, mama, and I was asking about this stuff. And then he was saying it is all like, closed, like never has happened, like more than like, everybody's having some guys coming from if Mumbai and all, so people see him and start running that they will contract the disease. This was happening in that village. So anyway, coming back to this, so all these issues put into ILO put here, because we don't have, I don't want to digress the issue, but ILO is one issue which is very important point, which they said, which most of the, I mean here, they say to deal with it, you have to, of course, the economy and employment. So you can't neglect the employment of people, even in involving informal sector. So you have to stimulate. This is the number one. They say, they talk about supporting financially and all kind of facilitating in terms of regulation, and as well those companies, smaller, micro, I mean, those companies, and even medium-sized company and large company, of course, they have more teeth and jobs and their income to ensure, right? So the people have the ready money to buy stuff and all, because that's very important. Protecting worker in the workplace. This is a huge, I mean, challenges, even their health and their income. So this all kind of like, protection we are talking about, and relying on the social dialogue for the solution. This is very important from sociological point. So all stakeholders should come together. So unions, all this, I mean, political leaders, even religious leader, and then those, I mean, NGOs and all stakeholders, rather than, I mean, education institution, like we are giving input here, the health sectors and all these. So whoever is there, they have to come together and they have to work in terms of having a dialogue. Then you can survive that what is happening, and meaningful dialogue. That's very important. Anyway, I just want to focus on managing employees. So what kind of challenges, because yeah, these are interesting, and I have limitation to time to just within 30 minutes to do that. So yeah, impact, if you look at the people management issue in organized setting or organized any organization, large or small, whatever, I mean. So it is not like, the organization, they have their basic framework, they have their business plan, they have their strategies and business plan, right? And they manage, but still they have been redefining is being done. So if you look at, that's why I talk about, if any normal case, if you study management or managing of organization, it talks about, yeah, you will have the forward perspective from yours, try to see the customer, you retain your learning and growth, to have your core competencies and like, what you know best, to have innovation and all that. And then your process has to be very, you can say, effective in terms of dealing with like, your challenges and all, because you have to compete and all. So there have been many, without going into, otherwise I don't want to, I just trying to connect it and simplifying. I don't going to be making too much, you can say, specific. So that's, I'm trying to connect it. And then of course, those performance and financial performance, right? That is going to be redefined. Of course, finance is important, profit maximization is important, performance is the issue, right? But at the same time, the ethical domain nowadays, like in the earlier lecture, I heard in the morning, Dr. Anand, and I was really very appreciative of that. And we are talking about, there is talking about your value based, right? Because it is, profit maximization is no more. The CSR going to play a very important role now. So those organizations, large or smaller organization, they have to, but of course they need support of the organization, what you call the government as well. So you have to, in organizational setting, just to understand, then I will come to the topic, that like earlier it was more simple. Yeah, you have your performance management system in a place. Now your performance management system is not only those metrics in normal day, like as a dealing with him. You understand? This will be more holistic in terms of their contribution to overarching aim, which I'm talking, even taking into here. That's why I'm working on a paper on ethical challenges. So it is more in present time. You have to be simple, you have to be nice, and you have share what you have, and you can employ people. So these are the basic values. If you carry those ethical dimension, which most of the cases, like if you look at the dimension, most of the like free market, like Fried Linder and all, they talk about maximizing the profit. Am I right? Nobody cares. So there is no more free lunch. Am I right? But that is going to be getting redefined, because ultimately who is going to work for you? So that's why the engagement, when we talk about, you have to be nice. So as an employer, you have to contribute towards that direction. That's why I'm talking here. It will, COVID-19 situation will strain on this issue, which will get more complex with a variety of issues from work to home. A very important issue now. Most of us, we are online here, and work to home brings a lot of challenges, especially in individualistic society like in US and all. I mean, a lot of people, they don't trust the people at work, like Theory X and Theory Y of McGregor. If you look at these managing people, so they say people don't want to work unless they want to be police. Am I right? So if they are working from home, they are just playing. They are just feeling they are working to the 10% or very little of their efforts they are putting. So I mean, that kind of trust deficit, how you are going to. So you have to involve people in terms of your team. So trust generation, what management concept again comes here. There's so many things like 2 + 2 makes 5, synergy happening. So from the workplace away to enthuse and engage people is a big challenge. All right. And especially in the house, when you are within you are going through so many things, and your mind is playing on you most of the time because you are not getting engaged properly. I mean, so a lot of challenges are there, but still there are many companies who are doing work from home, and they have seen if it is done, if your work is being, and not all kind of work can be done from home, that is also true. So in that case, your productivity goes up. But it depends how you organize. Like I'm sitting like as an office. I made this corner in my house. So it is like my office. So if I in my bed and from there I start lecturing you, maybe I may not be effective. So create a corner, right? So I don't know. But some people may not be, especially this Y generation people, right? So these are big challenges for them, right? Like my son is working in a company on a lighter side, and sometimes he's in a just and got up 7:30, and he's in Brisbane and some collaborating with some company in US and all. He's a SAP analyst. So I mean, just he's sleeping on a dress and he starts. So I'm saying, what is there? Why not you organize yourself? He say, yeah, every day is fine enough. No. So I mean, this is the challenge, but your productivity goes down if I mean in that. So work from home also bring a lot of challenges and all to give your best. I mean, and trust your employees. That is the big issue. Downsizing again is the big issue. Most of the companies started throwing and all firing. I was just every day you read. I don't want to name them, right? So, and then learning and growth. Yeah, this is the new learning which is required in COVID scenario. A lot of platform emerging, how to collaborate. Also, there are softer side of learning as well, which need to be done. Trust issue, we already talked about, engagement and motivation of the workforce. I have a PowerPoint, I will devote to that. Health and safety. This is a very important issue, employee health and safety in most of the organization. And that has acquired center stage, right? So most of the places, if you doing, but some of the places, they are hardly, it depends on your infrastructure. Like I know even in developed countries, some of the industry just started and they are not caring and all, though there is a, they have the safe work, even in the US or in Australia. I was just reading more detail of the safe work. They say 4 square kilometer per person, right? So you have to allocate. So you just calculate how many. Like in Saudi Arabia, we define differently. We come back to work, but here, I mean, the safety is, worker safety we define by 75%. So if there are, say, 20 people working, now 15 people only can work. And then you have to devote and do something like, static temperature, nobody is more than 38 degree, and other thing like, you have to make sure those things and all. But employee health and safety has become very important issue. I mean, how you are going to, so this is the one of the challenge. Yeah, same in a different way. I'm talking here performance management system. Like in the beginning, I said that need to be recalibrated. So you can't do the way you have been doing and all. So your dimension of performance has to be re-examined. I mean, and it is to be more humanistic in terms of that, because and then risk and uncertainty also you have to put into that domain. We can I teach full course, and also I don't want time in here to or my paper, like, keep on writing all these issues, so I don't want to, but I'm saying how you look at the people performance and all. So you can't go purely from that perspective in the normal day. So in a risk and uncertain environment right now, you have to redefine, recalibrate your metrics in that sense. Market is very important. How this is going to be happen. Your labor market will have impact because number of unemployed people and company have, most of the time they are not going to, they don't have, I mean, they are not going to be angel the very next day because people are dying on the street and all. I mean, so unless there is a, how the government creates and those association, government or say, I mean, business association and those all stakeholder, how they make that kind of, they create that kind of narrative towards people. That's very important issue. They have to work for that. We talk about labor turnover, rearrangement of workplace, already we touched upon. Work from home, resizing, this another term, or downsizing. Engaging employee, yeah, trust deficit is very important issue. Training development, very important issue. Budget is the key issue. Like most of the companies, they say we don't have money. Even the government doesn't have money. It's very interesting, like we're heading, like, even the government does sometimes, they don't have money. In Delhi, we heard, like, they don't have money and all. And they to generate that money, sometimes they say we have to sell the liquor or we have to charge on GST because nobody is buying. And then they are putting now on the diesel and petrol, and that, like, the petrol pump have become diesel pump now. This is the joke going on. So these are the issue which are becoming very important. So how you are, same with the organizational level, how things are going to happen. HR policy and your legislation compliance is very important. You have to be softer and all, especially government reform, labor laws world over is happening. Is happen in India. There is a huge challenge. In the morning, I was having a session. I was not able to participate there fully because I was just a participant there. Indian Industrial Relation Association, Praveen Sharma, like, that association, I mean, wonderful. And all IR professor in India, they were just brainstorming in the morning. And they were talking about to simplify the labor laws and all. We have just like, look, all laws we said, yeah, the employee have to work 12 hours and so, I mean, so where we are going, I don't know. Okay, we simplify labor laws, but not like what has been done in MP and UP. You can't believe that. They have removed all laws in one stroke. Earlier, they were going on the other direction. They were making it more for let them pay and all. And slowly they went to other direction, more pro, you can say, enterprise. And they say all law has to be chopped and thrown. And they just kept 2-3 laws. And they say, yeah, all this law is irrelevant. I don't know. There is a ILO has come into, and our Prime Minister has said we will look into that. I don't know where things stand now. But in practice, we have to simplify labor law. That is very true. We have huge 30, 40, 34 law only in UP. How come you can manage them, right? So there was to be done. That is fine, but not now. But you have to simplify it. But people can't work 12 hours. This is also reality. And especially under this kind of circumstances, where world over there is a practice is number of hours is reduced because of the strain and mental trauma. So 12 hours and 2 hours in, so 14 hours, what you are trying to create, am I right? And they will not have any kind of contract, and also anytime you can fire. So we are creating slaves, what we are going to do. But these are happening, these things will happen. But a state has to play a very balanced role. They shouldn't have what exactly I'm saying is a knee-jerk reaction. There should be not a knee-jerk reaction. This is very true. So there is a both sides having too many laws, and then what has happening, that is also not good. I remember I started my career from Shri Ram Center for Industrial Relations, New Delhi. My first job after completing my PhD from BHU. And I was working with some of the stalwart, C.K. Jory, was my guru. I just remember today for labor laws when talking about, and C.K. Jory, who wrote Encyclopedia India for Kluwer, and a wonderful guy, I'm right. NR Sheth also, I have an opportunity to interact with him because I am Ahmedabad director, one of the great industrial sociologists. And we used to talk in one of the seminar, we are talking about what I'm talking now, but still where I left and all, nothing has happened. I'm 96, I'm talking, and still we are there. So the government, like, efforts and all has been every government, without any color and hue. I'm not painting and all. I believe all these political parties, they just make mockery of, I'm right, that's the freedom and they are talking about, they are not focused and all. Just want to win the election and all with that little due, I mean, this thing, but they are really least concerned for putting in place those things, those system needs to be corrected way back. I'm talking 96, we started liberalization in 92, but still we have not touched uh, so far, but it was not supposed to be done in so hurry and all. Coming back to the issue of in organizational setting, what COVID is going to redefine, I just put it, if you look at any organization has its mission, vision and all, you have to relook at. So you are not going to 180 degree, you are going to change and all. But your unit level plan that need to be justified in the new scenario. And you have to involve those people who are into management, like it's critical to involve all level. So that is the redefinition which is required, very important. And the next important issue is individual and team performance, result. We are more important now for behaviors, how people behave rather than, so it is rather than result, it has to be more people, what they are doing, how they are, you're using them. So behavior oriented, like, stuff becomes more important. Without wasting time, I just say that the managing and how it is being challenged, I just put into terms like, in COVID scenario, how this engagement will become very important if you look at it. Like 3 dimension of engagement I'm talking here, which is very important for employees to let them feel part of that, because if they are not there, they can't produce, right? So if you look at here, he's talking about intellectual engagement, the propensity to think hard about tasks. So I mean, how they are really being part of that. If you are living in a fear like COVID-19 scenario and they are supposed to lose job, can their intellectual engagement work? Not at all. The second thing is the affective engagement. So experimenting positive emotion in relation to work, such as enthusiasm. So they're that energy, work hard, I want to give my best. I mean, unless you talk nicely, you engage them and all that, it's going to happen. Another other dimension is, of course, that relationship at workplace. So these are the important issue, very, very important. Again, if you look at most of the, what kind of challenges it brings if they are not being done, those HR plans and engaging, if you're not managing people, self-esteem of employees going down, health risk, huge, burnout is happening in the organization. A lot of people committing suicide and so many things, story we are happening, right? Because of that relationship between employee, employer, or whatever, I mean, or within your domain. Use of false or misleading information, I mean, sometimes people will come with. We all talk about turnover, trust, motivation, unjustified demand, unfair standard and all. So this is not going to take you anywhere and all. So very important to look at all these, especially in present scenario. These are very important point, I think, to issue. There, what exactly, how we can do this, how these different stakeholder and all they can do in terms of managing people. So here you're talking about leadership role. Very important, what flows from the top, like, it goes down. It is like water, which comes from top, goes down. So leadership role, I have a PowerPoint, especially for ethical leadership. I'm just talking about, I will show you later. Yeah, it's talking about more adaptable and flexible organization structure. Nobody can stop this. It's going to happen. You have to change the way you used to produce, and also worldwide changes are happening. Like we talk about online arrangement, work from home, and then otherwise also because of the social distancing and all this, throwing a lot of challenge. I don't know how long, unless the whole situation becomes very clear after 3-4 months or 6 months, and people are saying if 1 or 2 years, then the whole business will kill. Am I right? But you don't stop producing and all, and that will adding cost as well. This is also one of the issue. Yeah, supply chain, I already talked about biggest challenge, how you are going to cope with that. Government has to play important role, facilitating and all that. Managing a diverse workforce, very important, but we can't paint a brush across the world and all. A small organization in somewhere in a small city and to large in sitting like, think of a Bangalore, they have different contextuality, am I right? So, but very important is you have to have these kind of issues, and you have to keep in mind all set of competency level, skill level, age level, and all. How you maintain your skill mix is very important. Yeah, updating skills also, like, especially this online and all. I was just reading a lot of platform emerging, and then across the sector, there is a need to collaborate. Any business and all, innovation and knowledge is going to be very important. So that how knowledge management is being done. Cost reduction is also very important in the organization keep improving, like, so I mean, most of the time people cut the number of labors, right? So that has to be seen, especially being humanistic, and we talk about ethical perspective. Keeping in that in mind, you have to be there. Companies are forced to, increase productivity. That you have to look at what exactly is you are trying to do in terms of that. Of course, productivity is good if you increase, but at the same time, those who are like, people who are involved without having a kind of tormenting or a kind of negative impact on them. So you can't, because especially in present scenario, you can't do that. Market, we don't know, believe me, nobody knows. Here in Saudi Arabia, we got 10% VAT tax from 1st July, and the market is just gone down because people don't have enough money to buy, and then 10% the government tax, because there is no tax used to be here. Government doesn't have money, they need to generate, they put 10% tax. So that's also like, so in that scenario, things is going to be different. Just I'm wrapping up 2-3 PowerPoint and we are done. A word of caution, I'm talking here, all these, we're talking about employee engagement and management, like, of employees. It's not so simple. Things are going to be complex. And what is relevant in one context, like I say, is not going to be relevant in other context. Benchmarking used to be one of the very, like, you learn from other and you start using that. Most of the company, they used to use these benchmarking practices. So in any, like, COVID practices, again, you try to copy, like, how to manage your workforce in given, it is not going to work. What other companies are doing because of post-COVID complexity and all. So benchmarking will be not as useful, what I'm saying, which it used to be. You have to factor out all complexity of COVID-19 and all. Some basic fundamental never change. So some fundamental will help you, like you're saying, building support with your people. This is very important. Either even at all level, are you managing organization, managing a village, managing a companies, or managing a family, am I right? So in all we need, am I right? At any level leadership, these challenges are there. So everybody want to see, I mean, what is in it for me? Mera kya? Mere kya fayda hoga? Everybody has to question, like, you look at anything, any comes like tax and see, how I'm going to suffer on this, or I'm going to gain in this. So everybody try to look at on this to get on board is what is in it for me. So that question is very important. And we already talk about leadership. There is one more leadership, I say ethical and all. I will show you the PowerPoint and then I'm done. For top management support is very important is, like I'm saying, balance between performance and humanistic leadership. In fact, just a few days, last week, I was reading a HBR, Harvard Business Review article on humanistic leadership. So they are saying in COVID-19, the whole leadership has to take a different take, which it used to be more aggressive and more authoritarian, like, or say that sort of leadership. You need more ethically sensible, sensitive people, right? So those, they will be more successful. So more, I mean, humanistic approach is to be, that's why I'm talking about redefining leadership. Line managers, the other managers, I'm right, who are into business, they have to take, like, ownership, and they have to be, so the leader, of course, but the coterie and the set of people, it is not the only CEOs in a company, or you can say a few people who are managing the set of people, the key, I mean, rather than most of the organization in most of the companies and otherwise also in our context more, if you look at either private sector, blame game is the very easy thing. You pass the buck on the other. So no, taking ownership, no blame game, and try to fix things rather than, and if we fail, we fail, we make mistake. Mistake is part of life. You must make mistake. If you don't make mistake, then you are not doing something. Other is, yeah, simple, very fundamental in all situation, and managing employee as well. Be very clear communication. This is either the, if you look at the COVID, and also just tell, don't hide information. Develop trust and we feeling. This is very I win, you win. It is not I win, you lose. Involve employee in the design process, implementation, difficult but possible. Yeah. Developing consensus that uh, evolve, I mean, see what exactly is required, different operations, and then human, like, you know, those dimension, the cost involved in that. So you have to develop that strategic consensus in terms of whatever input is there. That is what is labor law and regulation. I already spoke. We need, I mean, to deal with that, and I am done. Yeah, this is the last PowerPoint where I say the ethical challenges and all. So any situation, we have to have more better human face. That ethical leadership is very important. So how ethically you manage, and that leadership as part of daily activity to show as a role model and all. CSR, we just talked about. Corporate social responsibility has to play a very important role, especially large organization. In India, we have made, but that had made the hollow claim and all, that has not worked to a great extent, bearing few and all. Commitment of employees, yeah, sustaining engagement. We just talked about designing, implementing an effective approach for. So all these hiring and firing approach, and also you have to have human face, and you have to deal in a very, you can say, safe way, rather than doing so strategically, as well as to be more sensitive and all. Big challenge. Mentoring and coaching, this is very important, and that will remain always important in terms of reaching out people, sensitizing them. So that's the challenges for, and helping them out. So these are how we can manage and retain. But of course, in any situation, the basic of any business will remain same, but its overall contextuality will force it to redefine this. That's it. This is the last line I kept here. Like I'm saying, an organization, how well designed is only as good as the people who live and work in it. D. Hawk, this is the American guy, entrepreneur, is saying it is all about people. So an organization, no matter how well designed, is only as good as the people who live and work in it. So that's it. I'm through. Just I put more focus and more precise. But I'm very sure just few things, and then I will just sum up. I was just reading yesterday a few things, because trauma is always, I mean, not so bad. And I was talking about post-traumatic growth also happen, because sometimes we pass through the pain. Pain is part of life. So we have negative experiences, but sometimes negative experiences also bring or spur, like, you know, positive changes in ourselves. Sometimes it brings you, let you identify or recognize your personal strength. Sometimes it helps you to appreciate the value of life, greater appreciation of life. You come closer to God, or whatever you, I mean, form of spiritually, and you feel more spiritually, you can say, entitled and, like, you know, enriched in that process. So these are also positive benefits. But of course, you need, role of leadership is very important. Who can educate you, who can regulate your emotional if you have challenges. Disclosure is also part of that. Narrative development, as well as services being provided. So all these are, even sometimes how you channel out is very important. And then I'm done. This is just one couplet, wonderful, of Mr. Asghar. He wrote, is in Hindi, Urdu. चला जाता हूँ हंसता खेलता मौजे हवादिस से. Again I'm saying, चला जाता हूँ हंसता खेलता मौजे हवादिस से.